Awesome. Thank you so much. So we just went live on Twitter and Facebook. And thank you everyone for coming to this awesome event. We have some really exciting special guests that are going to be speaking. And we have an amazing host tonight, Zeynab from Brand New Congress. So I'm going to hand the mic over to her, and some people will still be trickling in as we get started here. So just so you know, I'm very thankful that you're all taking the time out of your day. And the reason that we are having this event tonight is we have less than 2 weeks until our election, and every single vote, every single volunteer matters. And we are so excited that you're on this team and part of this campaign. So we have some guests that are going to help us get really excited here. So I'll pass it over to Zeynab, and thank you all so much.
Hey guys, thank you so much, Lauren. As Lauren Ashcraft said, we are here to support her, and she is running in New York's 12th district. And we're super, super excited. I'm from Brand New Congress. We're super excited about Lauren being on our slate, as well as Lauren running for Congress. We really need to see that change, particularly for this district. So tonight, what we'll be doing is showcasing some people that have thrown in with support for Lauren, and are going to talk about her, as well as talk about actions that you can take to support her, because not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday is election day in New York, and it is off the chain up there with progressives running for office. So we're super excited to see what happens in Lauren's race. Just to introduce you guys to some of the folks that we have speaking tonight. We have Kyle Lewis. He's an old-time friend of Lauren Ashcraft. And Kyle is a stand-up comedian and co-producer of Collection Box Comedy, which is a comedy series he co-funded with Lauren to help support nonprofits in New York City. You can follow him on social media at Keep It 5, F-I-V-E, star, S-T-A-R. So 5 and star are spelled out. Keep It 5 star. We also have Harvey Kaye, who is a professor of democracy and justice at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, go Packers, a member of the Wisconsin AFT and DSA, and the author of numerous books. The two most recent are Take Hold of Our History, Make America Radical Again, heck yeah, and FDR on Democracy. So we also have Left Frank. We also have Marcus from Left Flank, which is a group of post 9/11 veterans who believe the United States needs a political revolution to bring the policy we deserve. As veterans of the military, they want to support local, state, and federal candidate officials who understand the devastation caused by the military-industrial complex. We also have Joshua Rush joining us tonight, who is a progressive activist and American actor who has been featured on shows like Chuck, Heroes, Andy Mack, and The Lion Guard. And then finally, we also have Nomiki Kantz, who is an Astoria-based progressive activist, founder of Matriarch, former Bernie Sanders surrogate, and the host of the show, Nomiki Show, and she is also an amazing investigative journalist. So let's pass it off and get the ball rolling. Let's talk a little bit about Lauren, and we would like to open up the floor to Kyle Lewis first. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyle.
Paul?
Yeah.
All right, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? Everyone else is muted. Perfect, so no one can hear.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. No, you don't. You think about stand-up right now. I am a stand-up comedian. This is our new life right now. We're using Zoom. We're doing that. So our Instagram TV. So you hear the laughs in your head. That's the best way you do it now. But no, I'm very happy to be here. Very happy to support Lauren. Shout out to Paul as well. If you guys didn't catch Paul walking in while setting up, he has this, I haven't seen Paul in months, and now he has this gigantic beard that I can't believe he could even grow. I did not even know that was possible. So it's a straight Lincoln beard, and so shout out to Paul and his Lincoln beard. He's gonna emancipate some people later. But on top of that, it's been a tough couple weeks for everybody, myself included. Being obviously African American, and I just want to thank everyone who's been donating, protesting, helping out. Like Lauren too, obviously, always. And you've seen the photo. She's like front charge at the Black Lives Matter movement with so many people and in protest. So thank you for that. I've had a lot of white people reach out to me to either say sorry for their race or just like show support. One person offered me food, which was weird. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I'm not poor, I'm oppressed. So different story there, but it's cool. I appreciate the offer for the meal. And that's something that's going on. And unfortunately, while you have a lot of positive people, you still have negative people who are saying different things, saying ruder things, or even focusing on things that don't even matter as much. For example, I don't know if you guys saw this in the news, with everything going on, this seems to be a top story for people. We are finally getting some gun regulation, but we are getting some gun regulation in the show Looney Tunes. They have taken the guns away from Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam. And people, this is real, and people are furious. They are sending death threats. They are just angry at the creators. They're this close to marching the subway. Like it's insane over something so small and minuscule. But because it doesn't make any sense, it's a cartoon. It's fake. It doesn't exist. You're never gonna see Elmer Fudd walk in the subway and be like, "You're violating my rights." That's not gonna happen. Let's focus on the things that are important. For example, Lauren is focusing on regulating gun control, which is a great reason to vote for her. One of many great reasons to vote for her. Lauren is just. I'm just trying to think. Like I have a good history with Lauren. We do open mics as stand-up comedians, and most of the time you keep your head down. You don't really talk to anybody. You just do your sets and you kind of leave. And Lauren just kind of, she did her set. I remember her talking about the Oregon Trail in the most, talking about dysentery in the Oregon Trail. You guys remember that? In the most polite and hilarious way possible. And then we bonded over the fact that I was wearing a cat shirt. She loves cats. And the rest is history. And from there, we've been doing we did these shows for a couple of years. And I saw, as we were doing it for a couple of years and we were raising money for these causes, I saw Lauren's attention, while very funny, attention steer more towards the causes. And stand-up is great. It's great to make people laugh. It's great to make money. But Lauren always had a bigger picture. And this bigger picture was to help as many people as possible. And with her running for New York 12, she can help as many people as possible. And she's not, if you've seen her support in her website, there's so many things that she's supporting. Like, for example, if you have student loan issues, she wants to eliminate all student loan debt. She wants to criminal reform, which we desperately need right now. I don't understand why you wouldn't vote for somebody who puts their heart and soul into wanting to help others, I don't get it. So if you're on the fence or if you don't know who you're going to vote for, I think the obvious choice is Lauren Ashcraft. I really, really do. Because she, even if you're one of those trolls that she has, she's still fighting for you. She's still fighting for you. So you can have the freedom to make fun of her in Fortnite. Like, that's a good person. So why not vote for Lauren Ashcraft? That's what I'm trying to say here. There are some snaps that I can't necessarily hear, but shout out to the snaps. But yeah, this is, while I'm here, I'll just talk a little bit more about this pandemic that we have, which has been a little weird. I felt bad if I show snaps or comments or who has kids here. Anyone has kids? I got one nod. So that, I assume that one nod is several people also have kids. One person is childless. That's fine. But there's a lot of parents out there who ended up also becoming teachers. So we had parents who had to teach their kids during this whole pandemic. And kids hate school. And kids especially hate school and math. And I think that's because they can't relate to the problems that are in math class. Because you get the guy who wants, like, John goes to the store and gets 12 apples and dirty watermelons and all this doomsday stuff that he's doing, and no one ever does. No one ever shops that way. So how can you relate to that? So I think, especially if we're doing this for a little while longer, we need to make math problems more relevant for the kids of today. There are so many people who are raising children into the digital crowd. So shout out to you guys. So I think we need to make problems for them. For example, if Jeff has 2 podcasts and no income, how is he going to make enough money to get rent next month so he doesn't get evicted? That is a problem that can be solved. So, listen, someone said Patreon. Patreon, sure. But I think that's my time. There's so many more people who also want to speak. But I will say one more thing. June 23rd, there's a lot of people that are going to be voting. There's a lot of people doing writing ballots. You can't go wrong with Lauren Ashcraft. That's just it. Like, she's out to help you. There's so much. If you like if you like marijuana, she's there for you. If you like criminal justice reform, there for you. Gun regulation, there for you. The perfect candidate and an amazing human being. And that's all we really need in democracy right now. So please, vote Lauren Ashcraft, June 23rd. Thank you.
Yeah. So since you guys are all muted, I need to know who to go to next.
Zeynab.
Let's see. Zeynab? Okay, great. You are unmuted.
Thanks, Paul. Just you could just unmute me between folks, and I'll help navigate us through the awesome people that are here with us tonight. Let's see. We have Harvey Kaye. As I had mentioned earlier on the call, for those of us just joining us, Harvey Kaye is a professor of democracy and justice at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, a member of the Wisconsin AFT and DSA, and the author of numerous books. The 2 most recent are Take Hold of Our History, Make America Radical Again, love that, and FDR on Democracy. Harvey, thanks so much for joining us. Also, can you tell us a little bit about how you know Lauren as well?
Oh, he's muted.
Okay, so the first thing, Zeynab, I want to say is I'm Harvey Kaye, not Kane. I think Harvey Kaye might be a porn star, but I'm not exactly sure about that. The main thing is that I know Lauren. We've never met in person. We've met face to face here on the internet. But I know Lauren because I've seen her on various shows, and I was impressed. I don't remember specifically if it was Majority Report or my friend Michael Brooks' show or one of the other podcasts that I catch. But I checked out her website and I liked her story. Okay, and let me just say a couple of things. Okay, I'm out here in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Green Bay, Wisconsin is represented by a Republican. And for most of the history of this district, ever since the Civil War, we've had Republican representation. But the oddest thing is, or the curious thing is that this is the home of the Green Bay Packers. That's the city that I live in. And the Green Bay Packers, as one New York Times sports columnist wrote about 20 years ago, is the place where socialism is alive and well. And I say that because we are the only city, the only sports franchise that is fan-owned and not owned by some very, very rich billionaire or some corporation that rakes in profits and distributes it to members of the family. We are a trust, basically. So that's first of all, okay? So I belong to DSA not only because I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, but this goes way back. The other thing I want to say is, even though I've not met Lauren, I'm from a New York City family. My family is a Brooklyn family, but I lived in Queens as a little boy for a couple of years in Kew Garden Hills. But even more important than that is that probably one of the high points of my career was that I was was the historical advisor to the making of FDR Four Freedoms Park on Roosevelt Island, which sits, for those of you who are coming in from the rest of the country, sits in the East River between Manhattan and Queens. Okay, so you look to the right and you see the homes of the wealthy, and you look to the left and you see the homes of working people and the working poor in some ways. So I have a certain kind of personal commitment to the district, but it's also the case that I'm just extremely proud to endorse Lauren, because I think we need to send her to Congress. I think we need to send her to Congress because we need to take back America. Now, I'm a historian as well as a political writer, so I want to make a few historical points. The first thing is that we need to take back America from the corporate bosses and billionaires. We need to take back America from the conservatives and the reactionaries of the Republican Party. And we need to take back America from the neoliberal Democrats who have basically prevailed in this party ever since the 1970s. So my commitment to Lauren is a commitment to many another insurgent Democrat, but I have a particular interest in Lauren because of my New York City roots. Now, we've endured 45 years of class, and if I'm talking too loud, just, wave at me or something. I get really excited to talk about this stuff. Haven't been in a classroom in some weeks, so it becomes all the more a moment to express myself. 45 years of class war from above. 45 years of class war against the legacy of Franklin Roosevelt, the New Deal, and the Greatest Generation, and the children of the Greatest Generation, all too many of whom may very well not be voting in the right direction. Nevertheless, it is imperative that we take back America. We have had 45 years of class war against the rights of workers, against the rights of women, and against the rights of people of color. And what have we ended up with? We've ended up with ever-widening inequalities. We've ended up with massive student debt, as too often Republicans have reduced the funding to higher education. We've ended up with a labor movement, and I am a labor unionist. I'm a member of AFT. We've ended up with a labor movement that basically is up against the wall. We have ended up with voter suppression. That voter suppression takes diverse forms, from voter IDs, which is not only directed against African Americans and the poor, it's also directed against students who live away from home. We've ended up with a militarization of the police. We've ended up with a planet in crisis and a pandemic stalking us. A pandemic stalking us, not only the working people who have to go out, the so-called essential workers, and they are essential, but at the same time against all the rest of us. We are in that respect together in this. However, even as we are together in this, we know the billionaires are becoming multi-billionaires, and we know the multi-billionaires are becoming trillionaires. So forget resistance. Now's the time to take action. We need to take back America. We need to basically transform America. No taking back America to restore the status quo ante. Now is the time that we need a Green New Deal. We need Medicare for all. We need a federal jobs guarantee. We need the kinds of things that if you check Laura's website, you will see Laura will fight for those things. And more importantly, she will encourage the fight in us. And, I just want to say one other thing. I came tonight by way of this Zoom, not really sure if I'd have something to say to folks in the New York 12, but please listen to me. This is the time to take back America. This is the time to send Laura Ashcraft to Congress. This is the time to redeem the promise of America. Thank you.
Oh, Harvey, you're speaking my language. You're speaking our language. I'm from Brand New Congress. I didn't introduce myself earlier, but we are endorsing Lauren along with 43 other candidates this cycle, with 9 candidates in New York who Lauren had been working closely with. for the last several months. We have Isaiah James, Tomas Ramos, Shanyat Chowdhury, Mel Gagarin, and so we are very excited about Lauren. She's sort of been leading the way, and she was one of the first candidates to come on to Brand New Congress's slate. But when you say reshape the government, reshape Congress, get folks voted into the House and the Senate, our souls sing, because we're all working together toward that mission, and Lauren's an integral, very important part of that. So I would like to now kind of we talked about Marcus. Marcus is from Left Flank, which is a group of post 9/11 veterans who believe the United States needs political revolution to bring the policy we deserve. As veterans of the U.S. military, they support local, state, and federal candidates and officials who understand the devastation caused by the military and industrial complex. Marcus, without further ado, I would love to pass it on to you so that you can share our story and talk to us about Lauren as well.
Hi. Thanks for having me, and just wanted to appreciate just everything that Lauren's doing, and also the other progressive candidates out there. I want to just kind of introduce myself. I'm a Marine Corps vet. I have been to over a dozen different countries under the U.S. flag, and through that service, I just started asking myself questions. One of the simplest ones is, why am I here? And it doesn't take long to scratch the surface underneath to see that it all ties to money and the military-industrial complex that really pushes the United States into these forever wars that we're seeing now. And as you can see, like one of the statements that we keep using is war is a racket. And that's something that General Smedley Butler said over 100 years ago. And so that was something that was understood then, that is, even coming up to this day. So with candidates like Lauren, who understand that there is no excuse for the trillions of dollars that we feed into bombing, brown nations across this world, that there's no, a lot of times you'll have, whether it's officials, you'll have pundits on television, they tie it to jobs and our GDP, which is just simply the incorrect way to look at genocide. So it's important, and I think when we look at the times now, if you're going to say Black Lives Matter and you're going to talk about defunding the police, you have to understand that you can't defund the police without defunding the military. The police are now just receiving the overflow of the overwhelming amount of funding that goes to the military. And in the same way that you could defund the police and start funding the social resources and programs that people need, it's the same exact way. We need to start defunding our military so that things like Medicare for all, free college tuitions, it's no option. There's no excuse. There's really, that's how you pay for those things. And so getting to know Lauren over the past few months and just talking with her about a lot of issues, ranging from strengthening the VA to the intersections between women, Black, Native, trans, LGBT, all sorts of veterans, and how they exist in our life post-military service. It's just great to see candidates learning and really just passionate about making the change that we need. So I want to encourage everyone in New 12 to please vote for Lauren, because she's one of the many that are out there that are really fighting for us. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Marcus. It's so true. State troopers, New York City police, they don't need armored tanks, and they don't need full-on SWAT gear to the level of being armored like our soldiers that are going into war. So it's something Lauren's been speaking out against for months. She signed our 21st Century Bill of Rights that has a robust criminal justice platform, as well as you guys should go to her website and check out her platform on demilitarization, but also her platform in shifting money away from our military to social services at home. So next we have Joshua Rush. Welcome, Joshua. Joshua is a progressive activist and American actor who has been featured on shows like Chuck, Heroes, Andy Mack on the Disney Channel, and The Lion Guard. Josh has also been following politics, and you can check him out on Instagram to see some amazing interviews like the one he recently did with Lauren Ashcraft. He's interviewed several other progressive candidates across the country, and he's quite the investigative journalist, I will say. So I would like to turn it over to Joshua Rush. Share us a little bit about yourself and tell us why you support Laura and Josh.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me join, and thank you so much for having me on. I'm Joshua Rush, like she said. I'm an actor and advocate. I was a Bernie 2020 surrogate, and as of 2 weeks ago, I am a high school graduate. And there's a question that I am asking as a graduate, and that I know a lot of my peers are asking right now, and it's who will fight for me? It's easy right now to look at the world that we face and say, who is going to speak up for us? To look at these massive, massive problems that we face and say, who's going to fight for us? Just making it through high school or college is way hard enough on its own, but right now we are facing much, much bigger problems. A changing climate that threatens our futures and the next generation, rising income inequality that has laid bare the social inequities that already existed in our society, politicians that refuse to fight for the people that they are supposed to serve and instead line their own pockets at our expense. Not to mention, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a whole pandemic going on. But my generation is taking these difficult problems that we are currently faced with and taking them on. We're taking them head on. I see it every single day. I see it in the lunchtime conversations about what Medicare for all would mean for us and our families. I see it on the FaceTimes and the Zoom calls debating how to organize in the face of a pandemic. I see it when we take to the streets for radical climate action and end to gun violence and medical debt. I see it when we stand or when we kneel in solidarity with Black lives. I also see it in the politicians who are standing up for us. And one of those politicians that we desperately need to elect in New York's 12th district on June 23rd is Lauren Ashcraft. Students and young people aren't being taken seriously as a political force. We don't have a lot of money to contribute to expensive campaigns, and we don't really reliably turn out to vote in comparison to other age groups. So what it means is for us to be taken seriously, we have got to stand up for the candidates that believe in us and who will fight on our behalves. That candidate in New York's 12th district is Lauren Ashcraft. If we want to win the policies that we need for my generation, for the next generation, for the ones after that, we've got to have a planet to live on. We need a Green New Deal. If we want to win the policies for my generation, the next generation, the one after that, we've got to be free of college debt and of medical debt. And Lauren Ashcraft is going to fight for us. We need jobs to be able to secure a future for ourselves, for our families. Lauren Ashcraft is fighting for that every single day on this campaign trail, and she will continue to fight beyond just this. She will continue to fight in the House of Representatives. She will continue to fight for me and for my peers and for the next generation beyond just this election and beyond after we elect her to the House of Representatives, because we will elect her to the House of Representatives on June 23rd. But we need people like Lauren. We need Lauren fighting for us. We need Lauren on our side, and we need Lauren in power. And so I am honored to be a part of this coalition. I am honored to be supporting Lauren, and more than anything else, I am honored to be a part of this team fighting to elect Lauren Ashcraft and fighting to create real progressive change in this country. Thank you for having me, and let's freaking elect Lauren. Let's get her in the House.
Yes, thank you, Joshua. Last night I was just talking to my daughter, and she looks up to folks like Lauren and AOC and Cori Bush and Paula Jean Swearingen. Those are her mentors. When Alex was elected, she cried. She's like, somebody I know is in office. But last night I told her, I said, this is going to be something you are going to remember for the rest of your life. This time in history, is something that is going to leave a mark on you. She's 10 and she said, Mom, I hope that when I'm an adult, I can look back and I can say, I can't believe we ever lived that way. And so, Joshua, a lot of what you were saying really hit home for me. And it makes me think New York 12 has already been living this way for a long time, and Carolyn Maloney hasn't done anything to change it. And so that is why we need to replace that representation with a progressive that will actually get the work done. Speaking of holding our representatives accountable in elections, the next person that I am introducing has been putting our representatives on the hot seat for a few years now. Nomiki Konst is an Astoria-based progressive activist. She's founder of Matriarch. She's a former Bernie Sanders surrogate, and she's host of the Nomiki Show. Nomiki, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Zeynab, and to everybody on this call. I'm so incredibly inspired and impressed by your work. And Lauren, as I've told you, once again, I thank you for running. I have run in New York, as you know. I have run for office. I can speak personally. Running for office as a progressive woman who is doing it independently, not being asked to, not a prop of the establishment. It's definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. And I don't think folks, maybe even Lauren won't know for a while, how much of a toll it takes on you. It's a lonely place, and New York politics has a reputation for a reason. So I want to thank Lauren especially for having the courage, continuously having the courage, and it's like your voice has just gotten louder as it's gotten harder. And so I want to commend everybody on this call for understanding and the moment that we're in and what it means to be on the right side of history, on the proper side of history, I should say. Because after the last few weeks, it was really hard for me to say, I'm staying silent in a race she's running to be my congresswoman. And I hate to make it personal, but I care about my community. I care about the future of my community. I care about the history. I care about all of the people who I have gotten to know over the years who have been activists in this community. For those of you who don't know, New York 12 includes Astoria, which is where I live, and that is a neighborhood that has the highest concentration of progressives in the country. It is this little hot spot. It overlaps with AOC's district, so you probably understand that a little bit more right there. There is something extraordinary happening in this neighborhood, in this area where I live, and it's expanding throughout New York City. And that's not an accident. That's not because a bunch of socialists decide to invade New York, have been reading Harvey Kaye and Marx for years. It's because the moment in New York is a moment that we have the highest inequality in the country, income inequality. So if you think about that, in Lauren's district, in New York 12, you have the richest people on the planet buying their houses tax-free. You have oligarchs, right? These big oligarchs from all over the world using real estate on the Upper East Side and the Upper West Side, but let's talk about this district. This is part of Lauren's district. They're putting their cash in real estate with tax incentives written by Bloomberg and his pals in the city council, a few decades ago. Trump created these little tax incentives by buying off the government in the 70s. And now you have oligarchs flooding their money into our real estate, using it as a bank because it's safer to keep their money in New York real estate, at least pre-COVID, than it is to keep it in their own countries. And there's a big question about where much of this money even comes from. So what does that do to a community? You have the Upper East Side, you have Astoria. You have the Upper East Side, you have Roosevelt Island. You have the Upper East Side, you have the Lower East Side. You have the Upper East Side, you have the East Village. The stark contrast between the New York that most people move to, now the Upper East Side has always been wealthy, right? At least in modern history. So you have the stark contrast between Gracie Mansion sitting on the Upper East Side, overlooking, as Harvey said, Roosevelt Island, which just beyond shows you one of the most diverse borough in the country that is full of immigrants that came to Queens because it was accessible. They could start their lives. They could work hard, live in an apartment with affordable rent, possibly even buy a house or an apartment. And that is what much of New York City was like, and especially this district. So you have the highest income inequality in the country, and then you have a broken subway system. And then you have an education system that is massively underfunded. You have a CUNY, the public university system in New York, massively underfunded, under austerity. You have a city that is living under austerity while billionaires from our country and billionaires from who knows where are not paying taxes, buying up the real estate, not funding the city, and making the cost of living for all of us, housing, rise. Meanwhile, what are our supposed democratic lawmakers doing? Silence. Silence, I think, right now in this moment is so much more noticeable because it's complacency. When you're silent in the BLM movement in this moment as a Democrat, you are complacent, in my opinion, with the white supremacists. And we know on this call, in this rally, that complacency in the economy hurts the most vulnerable people. If you are a Democrat and you've been elected, if you've been sitting there for 2-3 decades, and you show up for the photo ops, you co-sign to legislation that you're not going to fight for, is going to go nowhere, but you're not actually battling it out, and you're still taking that millionaire and billionaire money, and you're not trying to target the issues of crisis in your district, then you're complacent. And so I sat and watched Lauren, and I've supported Lauren. She knows that. I first met her, I believe, the first time we met in person was at an event in Astoria, very close to my heart, a place called Catch, where we did a lot of my campaign events. And Michael Brooks was there, and I got to see her spirit. And it was pretty early in the campaign, I'd say. And to see this campaign grow, and to see her stay truer to her values, and take on the establishment with so much more energy, while the establishment, our sitting congresswoman, while we're facing the highest inequality, she's been silent. While the subway has been dismantled, essentially, intentionally dismantled. I say that because it's not just underfunded. It is designed to break, which affects everybody's lives. She has stayed silent. While we are facing this housing crisis that existed before COVID and is just going to be worse, she has stayed silent. While we have a healthcare crisis in the city, she has stayed silent. While wages have stayed extremely low, should really be around $30 an hour in New York to survive. The subway should be free. What has she done? She has stayed silent. She's been silent before the crisis, she's been silent during the crisis, and she's silent, dare I even say it, she will be silent post-crisis. But hopefully, we won't need to pay attention to her silence because we have elected Lauren Ashcraft. Lauren has not been silent, her voice has only grown louder. And I just want to say one more thing, because there are other people in this race, and I think this is important, and this is like by neoliberal design. This district is facing the highest inequality in the country, one of the top 3 districts with inequality, with major crises. And the 2 other candidates could just swap each other out, swap genders and a couple of decades, but they're not very different. And dare I even say it, the other man in this race is probably even a little bit more conservative. So how could we responsibly, as New Yorkers, stay silent in this race when you have two people running who have done literally nothing in the last decades for this district? And here we have Lauren going out there championing the platform that we stand for, talking about the issues nobody has the courage to forcefully advocate for and organize around in New York that's in politics. Very few people have it. And how can institutions stay silent? So I'm going to call this out. I think progressives in New York need to do better. They need to be bolder. They can't just latch on to the new, trend. We have to support all true progressives because that's the only way we're going to have sweeping change in this city. And it's why I'm endorsing Lauren Ashcraft. She's impressed me every single step along the way. Every time I talk to her, I just fantasize about the day I can call her and she's my congresswoman and I can complain about something in my neighborhood. So with that, I thank you, Lauren, for running for our community. I thank you for having the courage and, however I can help. I know we're in the final stretch. All of you guys, remember, if you're New Yorkers, if you're tuning in later, you got to get that mail-in ballot in. You have to go to the website, which I'm sure we're going to put up, right? You look up this website, you can type in your address, and they'll mail you a ballot, but you have to do it in the next 3 days, and then they'll send it to you, and then you send it back. And of course, you send it back with Lauren's name all over it. So they don't make it easy in New York, but that's another reason why we need Lauren, because she'll advocate for electoral reform, which is incredibly needed. So thank you for having me. I look forward to campaigning with you, for you in the next several months, and then going to inauguration, and then campaigning for you again.
Thank you so much, Nomiki. All of you who have joined this are making me tear up, and thank you everyone for dialing in and making this part of your day. I'm honored, and honestly, I look at how we started. Paul, my campaign manager and partner, would laugh, but we started on my pull-out couch trying to figure out how the heck to start a congressional campaign with 3 people. One volunteer that I helped to plan the Women's March with, Paul, myself, Karen, our comms director, came on board shortly after. Now we have 650 volunteers. So if you are watching this and you haven't signed up to volunteer with us, now's your time, because we have 10 days to go and every single call turns into a vote. So, my name is Lauren Ashcraft. If you're meeting me for the first time, thank you so much for taking this time to get to know me. I am running for Congress in New York's 12th Congressional District because in a democracy, every single person deserves to have an equal voice. And my family, as well as so many New Yorkers, know that that is so far from being the case. And that's why I've been furious. That's why I've dedicated my fight to fighting for gender justice and social equality, helping to plan the Women's March on New York, and also helping to raise awareness around some of the most urgent issues our society is facing. Issues like so many of the speakers have mentioned. New York's 12th Congressional District is the 3rd most unequal district in the entire country. That means that in my district, there are people that are having to choose between having a home and putting food on their table. They're having to choose between paying off their student debt and having health insurance at all. These are the choices that I've had to make. I've been so privileged to have a domestic partner that allowed me to campaign by going on his health insurance. These are the choices we have to make in 2020. These are not the choices we should ever have to make. And that's why I'm running and fighting for single-payer Medicare for all, for a Green New Deal so we can have future generations live on this planet. I'm fighting to cancel student debt so people can get the education they need and not have to face a lifetime worth of a burden to pay it back. I'm fighting for true criminal justice reform because my representative voted for the crime bill, has also voted to militarize the police, and now because I'm primarying her in the last 2 weeks has signed on to bills that will undo her mistakes. But this is not the time to sign on to things because you're being politically pressured to do so. This is the time to fight. I am fighting for people like my family. My grandmother was an immigrant from Japan, and she faced an incredible amount of racism and xenophobia in her immigration journey. Have we fixed that? Absolutely fucking not. My grandfather, her husband, was killed by corporate greed in a coal mining accident. I never got the privilege to meet my grandfather because of corporate greed. Have we fixed that? Absolutely fucking not. I've had the privilege of meeting Chris Smalls, who lost his job at Amazon because he was standing up for the safety of his coworkers. This is the world we live in right now, because our representatives are influenced by corporate greed over us. My other grandfather fell while he was working, and he became a quadriplegic. And of course he couldn't afford to hire a caretaker, so that was me, that was my mom, that was my aunt, that was my cousins. That's the world that I grew up understanding. Our government hasn't been there for people like us. Well, that can change. June 23rd, you have an opportunity to vote someone out who's been completely complacent with people like my family going completely ignored all this time. I'm fighting for people like my family. I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for us. And that is why I need your vote on June 23rd. And also, just so you know, early voting starts tomorrow. So if you haven't requested your mail-in ballot, which you absolutely should, it's the safest thing to do, go to nycabsentee.com, and I know we're going to be posting that link. Get your absentee ballot. You have until the 16th to do so, but actually just do it right now, please, because your vote matters. And if you would rather mask up and go to the polls, early voting starts tomorrow. We'll post the link to figure out where your early voting poll is. Also, June 23rd, go to your regular polling place, mask up, protect yourself, and protect others. Your vote matters. And what can you do if you're listening to this and you want to do more than vote for me? You can volunteer. Make calls with us, text people with us, write postcards with us. We have 10 more days to get people on our side so that we can fight for the change we need. Go to act.laurenashcraft.com and we get you all trained up and you join that amazing team of 650 other people that are fully supporting us. I see some of you in the audience wearing your t-shirts. I love you. This is how grassroots work. And we have, as Nomiki was alluding to, other candidates in the race that have dumped hundreds of thousands of dollars of their own personal money into the race. Sorry to tell you, I don't have that. I sat on a couch with 3 people in the very beginning, and we have grown this with hard work and because of you, because of your passion. And it's been amazing to be part of. You guys make me cry every single day, and I love my team and I love all of you for being here. And together, we can bring the change that New York's 12th congressional district deserves, and that change can translate across the entire country, because we need Medicare for all, we need a Green New Deal, we need to cancel rent, we need criminal justice reform, we need a federal jobs guarantee. And you know the best part? We can do it. We can afford it. And I will not be silent, because I know that austerity and pay-go and this fear around deficit spending is bullshit. Send me to Congress to fight for you, and let us bring that change to our country and district together. And I just want to one more time thank every single person who was here tonight, and thank you to everyone who took the time to speak on our campaign's behalf. And do not forget that you can vote, you can volunteer with us, and if you can't do either because you're out of district and have no time, send us $1, because with that $1 we can actually call 20 people with our dialer, and we have some of those amazing volunteers that make those calls with me on this call right now. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to partner with you. I'm so excited to win this change for our district together. We absolutely can do this, and I look forward to representing this district and representing the people who've gone voiceless for so long. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Lauren has less than 2 weeks before her primary, June 23rd. Please do not forget the date. As she mentioned, if you live outside of the district, outside of the state, there is something really important to remember. Every single member of Congress, every single member of the House, every single member of the Senate also vote for all of us. They vote for their district, but when Mitch McConnell casts a vote, it affects us. When Carolyn Maloney casts a vote, it affects us. So you can support progressives across the country, and if you're looking to do that, Lauren is an excellent choice of someone to support. You can also call, phone bank, volunteer across the country, because we're having a difficult time knocking doors right now because of the COVID-19 crisis. It's changed the way that us grassroots folks can do campaigns, because we're used to going in last minute, and I see no Miki nodding and knocking, 20,000 doors, 30,000 doors. And right now we're having to knock people's doors digitally. We're having to do things differently. We're having to text and call. So as Lauren mentioned, please sign up and text and call. And thank you guys so much for joining us. And everyone snaps for Lauren. All right, that should be all. And thanks again for joining us, everybody. Lauren, do you have any closing remark?
Yeah, just again, reminder, get your absentee ballot, apply at nycabsentee.com. Everyone say it with me. nycabsentee.com. Do it right now, or I will come find you. Do it. Get your ballot. Vote, because you have to use your voice, and your voice counts. And this is how we win. And if you can't because you're out of district, then go to act.laurenashcraft.com and help us reach people who may not know about our campaign yet, but they should have received their second mailer from us today, and we should remind them to vote for Lauren Ashcraft, for me, and all of us, and for the future of our planet, and for the true change that we need. And finally, if you can't do either of those, go to bit.ly/believeInLauren or laurenashcraft.com, where you can donate $1, which literally makes a difference. And our average donation is $16, and it has gotten us this far. It's gotten us 6 figures of donations that have powered our staff and paid for 3 mailers and paid for the Zoom account and paid for digital advertising, because $16 makes a huge difference when thousands of people donate it. That's the movement behind our campaign, and that's why we will win. But we need your vote, we need your time, and if you can spare $1 right now, we need your dollar. So I see those links going up in the comments, and we'll post them also in the social media. Thank you so much again for taking this time and being part of this campaign with us. And I just look so forward to earning your support and being honored to represent New York's 12th congressional district in the way that it truly deserves. And it's deserved all this time. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to be closing up shop now, but I really appreciate everyone attending and all the hosts and guests for being here. So everyone have a great night. Enjoy your weekend, but don't enjoy it too much because we got work to do tomorrow. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.